Okay, clap. Welcome everybody for the last session of the Happiness Academy. We are the beautiful Happiness Academy, and if you don't mind, I'll see. Maybe we can start with Maître Yarel. Why not? That's the best way to start. Can you send the video? Welcoming the Elohim.
The planet the Elohim. Good morning, everybody. Ohayo gozaimasu. Minasan. Genki desu ka? I'm so happy to see young people. Welcome. Your children? Ah, wonderful. How old?
おいくつですか？何歳ですか？13歳です。
Lucky. Lucky. But,
でも、
thanks to Elohim teaching,
エロヒムの教えのおかげで、
we can be younger than them.
彼らより私たちは若くなれます。
Me, I am 7 years old inside.
私の中は7歳ですから。
Only Nanasai here.
7歳です、この中は。
Forever.
永遠にそうです。
And remember when I was 13
私が13歳の頃思い出しま
or
すけど、
10,
10歳の時とか、
I was so impatient to grow old.
私早くも年取りたくてしょうがなかったんですね。
Impatient to have 15, 18 and drive car, dreaming to age.
15歳、18歳早くなってもう車運転してそうやって夢見てたんです。早く年取ることを。
I remember that.
それを覚えてます。
Always thinking, when I will be a man, I can do things.
男になった時は何かできるぞと。
But
でも
the truth was not growing old, but growing younger.
真実というのは年を取るんではなくて若く育つんです。
When I was 10 or 13, I was much older than now.
今よりですね、その10歳、15歳の時は今より年取ってたんです。
In my head.
私の頭の中は。
And now I am only thinking about having fun,
でも今はもう本当に楽しむことばっかり考えてます。
pleasure,
喜び、
laughing.
笑うこと。
But when I was young, I wanted to look serious.
でも私は若かった時子供
I am older. I am taller.
真剣で私背が高いぞとか。
And I hope that you realize the privilege you have.
で皆さんがその特権を持っているということに気づいてほしいんですね。
If you are 40, 50, 60, whatever your age,
もう40、50、60何歳であってもいいんですけれども、
that the body age
もう体は年取ってますが、
grow old.
老けるように成長していってます。
But the brain
でも脳は
can be younger every day,
毎日若くなれるんです。
forever.
永遠に。
This is the only part of our body which doesn't age if we take care of it.
私たちが気をつけてケアすれば年取らない体の唯一の部分です。
We cannot stop the aging process of our body.
その体がその年取ることを止めることはできないんですね、その過程を。
But we can stop and even reverse the aging of the brain.
でもその脳はそれを年取ることを止める以上に遡ることができるんです。若返ることができるんです。
And even more interesting,
もっと面白いのは
the scientists, you saw Rail Science this week,
ライフサイエンスに今週科学者たちが話したことがあります。
scientists discovered that what I've been teaching for 30 years,
30年間私が教えていたことを科学者たちが最近発見したんです。
due to epigenetic.
エピジェネティックなんだっけ？
Epigenetic.
エピジェネティックによると
Epigenetic we have a DNA. Huh? We have DNA.
私たちは細胞があります。
And this DNA, 遺伝子, may contain many things.
たくさんのことを含んでるんですけども、
Some people have a gene which make it possible for them, for example, to develop diabetes.
その糖尿病をもっとこう活発させるようなそういう細胞を持って生まれた人もいるんですね。そういう染色体を持って生まれた人いるんです。
染色体? That's diabetes? And so they have in their DNA this fault, this possible potential disease, for example.
例えばこういう病気の可能性を持ったそういう細胞 DNA を持って生まれた人。
But they may live all their life without becoming sick.
でも彼らはその一生をその病気が出ないまま生きることもできるんです。
If they avoid sugar,
砂糖を避けたり、糖分を避けたり、
and before all, if they are in harmony and no stress.
ストレスなくハーモニーの中でその年取る前にですね。
The scientists study twin brothers.
川下たちは研究でその双子がいたんです。
One become diabetic,
一人の兄弟は糖尿病になって、
the other one no.
でもそのもう一人はならなかったん
They
です。
compare. Why?
で、その比較したんですよ。なぜだろうと。
Exactly same DNA,
同じ DNA を持って生まれて、
but
でも
one had stress
一人はストレスを抱えて、
and ate more sugar,
でもっとその糖分を食べて、
and suddenly diabetes.
で突然糖尿病が出てきたんです。
That's epigenetic,
それを
is the name.
エピジェネティック仮想性
Meaning
ですね。
you can master and control what is expressed by your DNA.
で自分の DNA がどういうことを発揮するかというのを自分でコントロールする必要があるんです。
In other words, yes, our DNA makes us who we are,
私の DNA は私というものを表現してるんですけれども、
but we can also control what our DNA will express or not.
で私たちが DNA が持ったものを発揮するかしないかをコントロールすることもできるんです。
Diabetes is just an example.
その糖尿病というのは一つの例えなんですけども、
Can be cancer.
がんも言えるんです。
Cancer. Some people are not lucky. That was the article this week. Cancer is just bad luck.
そのがんというのはその運が悪かったということを言ってました。その科学者は。
Some people have the gene to have cancer.
ある人はそのがんを発揮するその染色体を持っている人もいるんです。
And if they don't do anything wrong,
彼らが何も悪いことしてなければ、
they will never have cancer.
そのことは起きないんです。がんは。
And some other people, if they do something wrong, because it's in their genes, they will have cancer.
その染色体に持ってるんで、それ悪いことをすると自分の体にがんが出てくるんです。
But if you don't have the faulty genes of cancer,
そのもしそのがんというその染色体を持ってない人は
you can do whatever you want.
何をやってもいいわけです。
Smoke, drink alcohol,
タ
anything,
バコしたり、
you will never get cancer.
もうがんにはならないんです。
Just bad luck.
ただその運が悪かったわけですから。
The most beautiful example is Jeanne Calment,
ジャン・カルモンというその美しい例えがあるんですけれども、
oldest person on earth.
地球上で一番寿命が長かった人です。
She died at 122.
122歳に亡くなったんですけれども、
Every scientist study what kind of life she had,
どんな人生を送ったんだろうとみんな科学者たちは気にしてたんです。
what kind of diet.
どんなダイエット、食べ物をとってたんだろうと。
She was not vegetarian.
彼女はベジタリアンでもなかったし、
She was drinking alcohol.
お酒も飲んでたし、
She smoked all her life.
吸ってたんです。
Until 117 she was smoking.
117歳までタバコ吸ってたんです。
And she was eating 1 kilo of chocolate a week.
毎週1キロのチョコレートを食べてたんです。
Not dark chocolate, 100% no sugar. No, with sugar inside.
砂糖入ってるそのダークチョコじゃない砂糖入ってるチョコを食べてたんです。
1 kilo every week.
1キロ毎週。
And she lived until 122.
そうやって122歳まで生きてたんですね。
Because she had a good genetic code.
彼女はそのいい DNA を持っていて、
I put that on my Facebook page.
私の Facebook のページに載せてたんですけども、
And some Ralians say, but maybe if she didn't smoke, didn't drink alcohol, didn't eat chocolate, she could have lived more.
であるライランがコメントしてたんですね。お酒飲んでなくて、チョコレート食べてなくて、タバコしてなかったらもっと長く生きてたんじゃないかって。
Not at all.
全然違うんです。
I reply, absolutely not.
全然違うんです。私返事しました。
I'm sure if we make it forbidden for her to eat chocolate, drink port wine, she loves port wine, and smoke, maybe she had a much shorter life.
もしそういうポルトワイン飲んでたんですけれども、それとかタバコとかお酒とかチョコとか禁止してたら、もしもっと若く死んでたんです。
Why?
なぜでしょうか。
Because she was happy,
なぜならそれが幸せだったからです。
always laughing,
いつも笑って
enjoying chocolate,
チョコレート楽し
enjoying smoking, happy,
幸せだったんです。
laughing all the
い
time.
つも笑ってたんです。
And that's the key.
それが鍵です。
The most important part,
最も重要な部分で
to
す。
be happy, to laugh, to have fun. Have fun
楽しんで笑って幸せであることです。
forever
永遠に
until 122.
122歳までそうだったんです。
And you can even live longer.
で、皆さんもっと長く生きることができるんです。
Most important thing to control epigenetic and to really make your life beautiful, not only long,
ただ長いのではなくて、いい人生をそのエピジェネックを使って生
But
きるためには幸せでいること
what's the point of living 20 more years if you are sad and a terrible diet and serious?
もう悲しくて真剣でもうひどいダイエットをしながらですね、20年もっと生きてどういう意味があるんでしょうか。
Better live 10 years less,
もう10年短くても
but happy.
幸せで生きる方がいいんですね。
And that's the most important thing, happiness.
それが一番重要なことです。幸せです。
And meditation
そして瞑想、
is the most direct source of inner happiness.
その中身の幸せをのための一番いい方法がその瞑想なんです。
Because if you wait happiness from outside,
外からの幸せを待ってると
it may never come.
もう来ないんです。来ません。
But if it's coming from inside,
でも中から来る幸せは、
if you feel this happiness from inside, just being alive,
ただ生きることだけでその中から幸せが出てくるのを感じると、
not needing to have anything,
何も必要じゃないんですね。
not a new car, not a new house, not a new computer, just happy.
そういうものじゃなくて、ただ幸せなんです。
Happy to see a butterfly,
蝶々を見て幸せで、
happy to see a bird,
鳥を見て幸せで、
happy to feel
感じ
alive,
ることを生きてることを感じることが幸せで、
happy to touch your body,
自分の体を触って幸せを感
your
じる、
sex.
自分の性器を感じる。
Very good.
そうですよね。
Then you have happipiness
それで幸せがあるんです。
without owning or having anything.
何かを持ったりとか所有したりするのではなくて、
The real happiness of being.
本当の幸せというのは存在することです。
And this is what make you stay in good health
それが皆さんのその健康でいられるようにしてくれて、
and be forever younger,
もっとその若く
forever 7 years old.
永遠に7歳でいさせてくれるんです。
So with time, these two young boys will learn to be younger.
でこの2人の若い子供がですね、もっと若くなることを学んでほしいんですね。
Now they want to look older. I
今
know.
はもっと年
I
上
was
たい
saying.
と思うかもしれません。私も同じでしたから。
I'm a big boy. I know. I was saying. I was
同じでし
saying.
た。男になりたいとか。
And slowly they will learn to be younger,
でゆっくりとそのもっと若くなることを学ぶでし
to
ょう。
dream.
夢を見たり。
Because when we are at school at their age, if you're a dreamer, every other boy make fun of you. Hey, you are a dreamer.
学校でその夢見てる子供たちはいじめられるんですね。何やってんだろうと。
But the most beautiful thing is to be a dreamer.
でも夢見る人になることはもう一番美しいこと
Not
です。
dreaming at night, huh?
もう寝る時にの夢ではなくて、
Daydreaming.
起きてる時に夢見るんです。
Cutting off computer, cell phone,
携帯やコンピューターを切って、
disconnecting everything.
すべてとのそういうつながりを切って、
TV,
テレビとのつ
Radio,
ながりも切って
nothing.
ラジオ全部切って、
and looking at a tree or the ocean
木を見たりとか海を見たり
and dreaming.
で夢を見るんです。
Looking at the clouds
雲を見て、
and seeing animals.
でそこで動物を発
My
見する
favorite game.
私が好きなことです。
Look at the clouds
雲を見て、
and I can see bear, cows.
熊を見たりとか、
I love. I can do that 1 hour.
形を見るんです。毎日。
It's very important.
とても重要なことです。
You were doing this when you were younger.
皆さんが子供の時やってたんですよ。
Never too late to do it again.
まだやることはもう遅すぎませんので、
Sadly, sometimes there are no clouds, like
たまに
today.
はもう悲しいことに雲ない時も
I
あるん
miss
で
it.
すけども、恋しくなります。
But I enjoy the sun also.
でも太陽も楽しんでます。
So when it's sunny,
で天気が良い時に
in the blue sky,
青い空を見て、
I create imaginary clouds.
そのイメージングの雲を作るんです。
And like that, you always let your imagination and dreaming make you happy.
でそのイメージしたりとか夢を見ることが皆さんを幸せにしてほしいんです。
Remember the 4 bases of happiness.
4つのその基本のその幸せのための道具を覚えてますよね。
Slowly,
ゆっくりと
in a refined manner,
洗練されたマナーを持って、
as refined and feminine as possible,
できるだけ洗練されて女性らしく
kindly,
優しく、
because you're never too much kind,
もう優しすぎるということはないんですが、
with other people
他の人
and with yourself.
で自分自身にも。
And what was number 4?
4つ目は何でしたか？
Laughing of everything,
すべてのことにおいては笑う。
especially of what you are not supposed to laugh of.
特に自分が笑っちゃいけないことに対して笑うんです。
If people bring you to a death ceremony, you know everybody is serious. That's where it's most important to laugh.
お葬式の時にみんなが真剣な顔していて、その時こそ笑うわけです。
Most important, because the people who are dead, if they look at you, they don't want you to cry.
死んだ人が上から見てたらもう泣いてほしくないんですね。
Oh, I go to memory of my ancestors.
もう私の先祖を思い出しても
Wait a minute, you love your ancestors?
自分の先祖を愛してますか？
They are looking at you.
その見下ろしてですね、思う
They
でしょ
don't want you to. They want you to laugh.
笑ってほしいんです。
You can go to death ceremony and laugh.
お葬式に行ってですね、笑うんです。
Some of you maybe remember Real Terrio,
レアルテリオを覚えてる人いるかもしれませ
who
ん
was a
が、
guide from Canada,
カナダ
Montreal,
のモントリオのガイドだったんです、
and he
ね。
died of a cancer.
がんで死にました。亡くな
But
り
the
ま
death
した。
ceremony,
です彼のお葬式ではですね
he、requested.
彼のリクエストがあったんですけれど
People
も、
could go. I went to his death ceremony. He was laying down in a coffin,
その棺桶の中に彼がこう横になっていて、人々が来るんですね。
with a white powder
で、白いパウダーを塗って、
and a big red nose of clown.
でクラウンのその赤い花をつけてですね、
That was his request.
彼のリクエストだったんです。
I want to be, when I will be dead, dressed as a clown
私が死んだ時は私をクラウンのように
and make all the people who come to my death ceremony laugh.
で、私の組織に来る人たちはみんな笑ってほしいって言ってるん
And
です。
many Raelian, we went to his death ceremony.
で、たくさんのライランたちがその組織にいたん
And
で
we
す。
laughed a lot.
もう本当にたくさん笑いました。
Only his biological family was very serious.
ポ
Poor people.
が真剣な顔してま
They
した。
did not respect the will of Real.
レアルの本当の望みをですね、尊重しててはなかったんです。
When I will die,
で、私たちが死んだ
that
時
will
は
happen one day.
いつかそういうこと起こりますよ。
Maybe sooner than later.
もう早い人も遅い人も。
Please make a party.
どうぞパーティーして、パーティー
Have
作ってくだ
fun.
さい。楽しんでください。
Enjoy.
楽しんでください。
Dance.
ダンスしたりとか。
Sing my songs.
私の歌を歌ったりとか、
Have fun.
楽しんでください。
That will be the best way to make me happy looking at you from Elohim planet.
エロヒムの惑星から見下ろした時に私を一番幸せにしてくれることです。それ
Happiness.
が
And I will add something more after number 4, which is laughing,
その笑いの次に5つ目のことがあるんです
which
け
is
れど
an
も
important dimension in your happiness.
皆さんの幸せにとってそのとても重要な面で
It's
す。
feeling powerful.
強力であることを感じること。
You are powerful.
皆さんは強力です。
You can change things
物のことを変えることができるんです。
slowly,
ゆっくり
in a refined manner,
洗練されたマナーで
kindly,
優しく
and laughing.
で笑いながら
That doesn't mean doing nothing.
それは何もしないでという意味ではないんです。
You can change the world.
そうやって世界を変えることができる
You
んです。
can make the world revolution.
世界のその革命を起こすことができる。
Only you, the little human being you are, but me, I'm nothing. Yes, you can.
私は何でもないと思うんじゃないんです。
Each of you
できるんです。一
have
人
this
一人が
responsibility
その責任があるんです。
to say, I will make something to help the world be a better place.
この世界がもっといい場所になるように私何かができるぞと思うん
Not
です。
only Rael and the important prophet are doing it.
もらえるとか重要な預言者だけがあるんではなくって、
You, each of you,
皆さん一人一人
make
が
a difference.
その変えることができるんです。
Feel the power.
この強力なことをパワーを感じてみて。
You were empowered by the message of Elohim.
エロヒムのメッセージによって皆さんは、力つけられたんです。
Not to be sitting and say, oh, Maitreya will do everything. No,
もう座ってもうそれ全部やるだろうと思う。
やで。
違うんです。
やだ、ダメ、いけない。You do it.
皆さんがやるん
I
です。
just bring the message
私はただメッセージを持ってきました。
to make you powerful,
皆さんが強力になるように。
not me.
私じゃないんです。
Your power
皆さんの力が
is what will change the world.
この世界を変えるものです。
Yes, very good. And I will ask Saul to join me actually, and maybe listen to your reactions and what has inspired you this talk, or maybe other things that has inspired you from the teaching of Mitraya. Saul.
Well, thank you, Jarell. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yeah, yes.
Okay, oh,
you're
that's
very
good. Okay, well, thanks for the opportunity. I mean, I'm not, pretty much everyone has heard my story and know how I discovered the messages, but there are a few here, so I'll sort of reveal that a little bit. But thank you, Jarell, for that presentation with Maitreya there, and that's very curious that, you know, such a person that's living such a long, healthy life is having all these chocolate and drinks and stuff like that. Certainly wasn't the case for me when I was, I think I was about in my late 20s and I got extremely chronically sick. So on the other hand of that, of course, she's taking possibly moderate amounts, but in my case, I was extremely sick. If I go back, you know, around about 30 years now to a chronic state, I was drinking a lot of whiskey. I was probably overindulging. I was taking, you know, too much cannabis at the time. I was eating so many bad, unhealthy foods. I also had an accumulation of stress that was coming on me. So I wasn't so happy, you know, so that was the missing element that would have probably allowed me to overcome those, that period in my life without taking such drastic measures. But I remember actually in that point in my life, at a very low time in my life, and I laid down in bed one day, feeling extremely sick. I could pretty much hardly move at that time of my life. You can imagine I was only 28 or 29. And I actually, this is way before I discovered the Raelian messages, and I had this revelation that come to me, and I closed my eyes in this sickness moment, and I could see small humanities that were actually existing, like in my cells, like little universes and little planets. And there was war going on, there was bombing, and there was pollution, and there was anger, and there was all this chaos that was happening. And I thought, and I come out of that experience was like a wake-up call to me, and I thought, you know, my body is actually a toxic time bomb, you know, and I really need to change this. And of course, I was just starting on a journey of emerging into the New Age movement, where they were actually talking about meditation, and I went along to a couple of channeling events, and it's amazing how synchronicity happens, because I went along to one of these a crystal healing workshop or something like that, and I landed on the bookshelf. It was in a spiritual bookshop, and this book falls out and hits me on the head, and it was actually a booklet that wasn't Maitreya's book, of course. Wasn't. That was a lot early before I discovered that, but it was actually relating to some Taoist techniques that I can use to heal myself internally. So it was amazing synchronicity that happened. And at that time in my life, I bought the book, and when I went onto the counter to buy the book, I actually seen that the author of this particular book was actually going to come to Brisbane from America, or from, I think, from Thailand, but was traveling through America and to Australia, and was doing a course, a weekend course or something like that, for about in around about 2 or 3 weeks in the future. So then I started on my healing journey, of course, to detoxify myself, and then I converted into a more of a vegan style, vegetarian vegan lifestyle, because I was my life was so excess at that point. So and then I got involved with the meditation. But interestingly, when I first started to get involved with the meditation, it wasn't successful for me at all, I must admit, because my body was in so much pain. I was suffering extreme pain, you know, in not only mentally, but I had physiologically, I had rashes over my whole body. Joints were swelling up. My elbow was big as a football one day. I was in a terrible chronic disease state. In fact, I would pretty much say I was close to death. I could not even work for 8 months during that period of my life. So it was an interesting journey. And then I do recall that after that period of time that I went through some change with my physiological part of my being, and of course psychological, because I got involved in the meditation when I was actually able to actually get involved in the meditation, because initially I could not do any meditation. I had too much physical pain in our body. So I think that meditation, of course, was a very important healing mechanism, but not in the early stages. I had to take some drastic steps on a physiological level. Anyway, these are all been important steps, and so I needed to do some healing before I got involved in the meditation. These days, I'm still a little bit slack with the meditation, but I remember when I was actually being brought up after I left school, I became a house painter. So I was actually, when I discovered more about meditation, I realized, you know, I was always meditating because I was in an outback country town, and I was always painting houses. I was always by myself for several hours a day. So I always had this dreaming mindset of, you know, had a sense of peace about me, and I was always aspiring towards the future. And of course, this has all been, you know, when I finally discovered the messages, I had another interesting moment of synchronicity when I was pretty much healed physically and mentally, and I become married, and I went out to a small country town, and then a strange thing happened. I met a guy there that was actually involved with creating a harmonious retreat in Brisbane when I was living there. And then he actually said, oh, look, I met him in this small country town, passing through, and he said, so look, you should read these books. I've just read them, you know, and I've just met this man called Maitreya Rael. I said, oh, well, that's very interesting. And he left the books on the table. And after he left that day, he left them there as a gift for us, and myself and my wife. And that day I had a urge. That evening, my aunt was visiting, and she was watching the television. So I turned on the television. She was watching the television. I had the urge to turn the channel. So I changed the channel, and it come on with a show called Compass. And there was, the presenter was saying, look, we're about to have an interview with somebody who calls himself the prophet, blah, blah, blah. And I thought, oh, this is very interesting. And I thought this is going to be a very curious interview. I'm not sure if people know that show Compass. And I put in a video, like a video, what do they call them? A slot machine. You put it in a cassette, because I never had DVDs, or you couldn't save it on your hard drive back then. It was going back quite 20 odd years ago. And so there it was, Maitreya Rael was actually speaking, and he was speaking from an interview from the Byron Bay seminar that this guy who had just left the books, that very same night, only about 3 hours later. So there we go. I have another moment of synchronicity that was, guiding me forward in my life at that time, because I was obviously asking for some spiritual guidance, and there it was presented to me. So I couldn't ignore it. And then after we finally read the books, my wife was encouraging more than me, and then she said, finish reading it, because she'd read it. And then I woke up after I read it all and said, okay, we have to meet the Raelians. And then we went and met the Raelians. I think we traveled around about 12 hours to go to a transmission, and it was quite an experience, because when I got there, I thought there'll be so many people there at that marketplace. And Jarell and Elsie would probably remember, and Tara, and there was only, like a handful of about 6 people. And I thought, my goodness, I thought most of the people there in that celebration was going to be there for this transmission, because I thought it's such a clear message that I think that everybody should be able to get this. And so that led me on a bit of a quest, I think, at that point, when I realized that not everyone knew about this. And I traveled to Japan, and I had further inspiration to become part of the structure to assist the movement to spread the message. And then, at that time in my life, I actually discovered there was actually a natural drug, and that is actually spreading the messages. Because when I actually would spread the messages, I would have this euphoric feeling that would swell up inside me, and then it was greater than any drug, and it would last longer than any other drug. And it was actually, I didn't have any side effects. So I discovered a little bit of a secret with spreading the messages, and that still lays within us. Of course, our method of spreading the messages these days is a lot different than previously when we would go in the street. But of course, one-to-one communication where I share the joy of the messages, the euphoric feeling does come back up again. And so that's been a big driving point for me. I'm an addictive type of person, and if I can get a natural high like that, then whenever I do get a chance, even these days where I'm living overseas, where a lot of people are not so open as what I would say is probably in Australia, because I'm living in the Philippines, paradise in the Philippines, and I have a beautiful new little family here. But at the same time, it is a joy, wonderful joy to spread that. But when after I actually went to Japan and I got involved in a lot of spreading, and I was having some moderate success, we met several other people that did become part of the movement as a result of my my spreading. And of course, everyone else that's been doing any spreading, the time will come, as Peter obviously continues to advise us, that the time will come where people be lining up to actually have a transmission done. So that time will definitely come. But I remember when I went to the seminar I think it was actually in Mount Tamborine, and Maitreya Rael come to Australia, and I had another revelation in one point, another stepping stone for me to push myself to my limit with exploring my potential, considering that Maitreya was actually encouraging us to, in that particular seminar, it was actually about that we are a dreaming machine, right? And I thought, oh yes, I took this on board. Of course, lots of other positive people, positive talkers talk about this, but coming from Maitreya Rael, it sits more deeply within me, and it certainly was more of a catalyst for me to push myself to the limit to see what I could achieve with exploring my potential. And then I thought I will set up some new objectives and goals to move from my house painting business, which was earning moderate amount of money, and also my signwriting business, to to exploring how I can, because I remember when I was actually at that seminar taking Maitreya Rael back to the airport. I think because I had all Maitreya's signs on the car, I was appointed as the driver to drive Maitreya Rael back to the airport, and he said to me, "Oh, Saul, what's your dream? What are you going to do?" So, of course, making you think. And I think I said to him at that point, I said, "Well, look, I'm planning to have a very successful international business where I'll travel around the world, and I'll be able to explore different cultures and enjoy life a lot more and stuff like that, and also spread the messages." So that was something that Maitreya got out of me at that time. So it's like a little bit of a commitment too, I guess, to share that with someone like Maitreya. So what I did, I embarked upon some new learnings and then set up a business that I could possibly operate overseas. And thankfully, in the last 2 years, since there's been all this COVID happened, I've been living, pretty much blissfully overseas for at least 16 months out of the last 2 years. So, and still managing to have a successful international business operating in the background there. So it's amazing how we can push ourselves and explore the potential that is deep within us, even though if we just come from a more humble background, like as a house painter. And I remember I was so inspired at this time of my life, and I was achieving a lot of things. And I went and I found an old sign in in the city in Brisbane there, up on a big prominent space where thousands of people are going past every day. And this sign wasn't being used for a long time. So I went and put a quote by Maitreya Rael up there that was inspired from the seminar on We Are a Dreaming Machine. And he says, the quote was actually from Maitreya Rael, says, we are alive for our present and future to become an explosion of joy. So we are machines meant to dream and imagine beautiful and positive things. And the funny thing about that, I got it up there. I had some help with one of my friends at the time, and it was a great experience. And we had it up there, bold letters and beautiful flowers around it. It was really quite a big billboard size sign. And the next day I got a phone call from the police. The owner had actually, apparently someone had discovered who it was, and they asked me to take the sign down. So that was my chance to seize the moment to do a bit of spreading. So I contacted the news reporter, and I said, please come and have a look at this, take a photo of the thing, and I give him my report. Before I pulled it down, and we got it documented, it got put in the newspaper, take that sign down. Local artists told to take this sign down. So it was quite an experience. And so there it is.
Yeah, so you have so many stories. I have to cut you short here. I'm sorry.
Yes.
Because we have another speaker coming.
Okay, we better go on then.
But
yes.
But you are a living testimony of someone who have applied the teaching and transformed his life from a painter and a drug addict to now very a businessman traveling all over the world and having a great life. So for us, you have been a very good example of what the teaching as I think it's part of it is a teaching, how it has transformed your life. So,
well, we'll finish, Jarell, with a comment by Maitreya Rael that a lot of us probably know from the keys, and it does actually say in there, and this can actually come to mind when we're thinking about, I guess, the chaos that's going on the planet at the moment, when we have, all this COVID, and we have, Ukraine war and things like this, a lot of negative things that are actually happening, of course, which Maitreya actually encourages us to transform. When we do watch a news and see something like this, we have to challenge our brain to actually convert these into new types of neuron pathways that are positive. Like there must be something positive that's going to come out of all this bad news, because there's a lot of bad news out there at the moment. If you're looking for it, I don't watch much news, but it is a good challenge for us. But one thing that does give me some comfort is that one of the quotes in the keys by Maitreya states that although the Elohim do not intervene for or against humanity as a whole, they do however sometimes exert influence on some people's actions that please or displease them. So in one sense we can't really get too deeply involved with the chaos that's going on and our emotional state going into that, because we have to trust that there's a universal order that's taking place. So I'll just leave you with that, and we'll share some more later on. Thanks,
yeah, thank you. Certainly. Thank you for your sharing.
Lots of love.
And lots of love. And just to have a small break in between, I would like Ashley to start a small video. Do we have
Want to see something that'll make your eyes pop right out of your head? Watch closely. These remarkable mechanisms, seldom observed at this magnification, are engineered and constructed to help ensure life on Earth. They are biological wonders, commonplace but extraordinary, devoid of muscle tissue, yet surprisingly dynamic. And their mobility has fascinated researchers from South Carolina to South Korea. This story begins with these small lavender flowers. The plant's scientific name is Erodium secutarium, but it's commonly known as storksbill. A week after blossoming, the petals wither to reveal these green striped pods. Inside their protective walls, 5 seeds quickly develop. Each seed is attached to a slender tail called an awn, and 5 awns per pod cluster together to form these narrow pointed extensions that measure 1 to 3 inches and resemble, you guessed it, the bill of a stork. Later, the pods die back to display their contents. 5 exquisite packages of life, signed, sealed, and ready for delivery. The storksbill now awaits the most explosive stage in its life cycle. As the seeds mature, the awns dry out and contract. In the process, elastic energy builds within them to the breaking point. The extreme torque generated by the twisting awns catapults the ripened seeds away from the parent plant. Now things really get interesting. Once on the ground, the awn reacts to humidity and quickly changes shape. Its cells are hygroscopic, so even though they're dead, they still respond to variations in the weather. On a dry afternoon, the cells shrink and the awn coils tightly. But when the humidity rises, the moist air triggers an opposite reaction and the awn uncoils. These alternating cycles of contraction and release produce motor action that causes the awn shaft, tail, and fine hairs to move the seed on its slow, relentless march. If the seed head locates a small hole or crack, it enters, then twists and burrows like a miniature bulldozer. Okay, now freeze the action right here. I want to show you why that seed's outer casing is an absolute masterpiece. Just look at its shape, sleek, tapered, and perfect for pushing its way into narrow spaces. And that hook on the tip, it anchors the seed while it's drilling into the soil. Those rows of microscopic hairs are aligned to help drive it forward, even in rough terrain. While large cavities on top of the case collect moisture that may help germinate the seed inside. This is a complete package, with every module working together, so the seed can literally plant itself. But there's more on display here than just a fascinating biological system. Consider this. Our world is filled with superb technology, highly efficient devices no one would reasonably attribute to chance or any random process. Instead, we universally recognize these machines as the products of purpose, design, and sophisticated engineering. So why can't similar logic be applied to nature? When we objectively study a mechanism like this, with an array of integrated components that result in nothing less than the generation of new life, there is only one realistic explanation for its being. the foresight and ingenuity of a mind that exists outside the natural world and created everything within it.
Wow, what a ingenious way. It's so smart. So how can chance create such a beauty and so ingenious creature? I want to. Can you hear me, Peter? Are you there? Peter, can you unmute yourself? I don't see you.
Yes, I'm there. Can you hear me?
Yes. Ah, you are the one on the phone, I guess. Okay, I can hear you. Excellent. So, Peter, I know that your connection is difficult. Thank you for being with us. I will actually
It's a true
do
pleasure.
something, prepare something for you. Here you are. Some time ago, do you recognize yourself, Peter?
I only have voice. I can't see the image, but I can imagine.
Okay.
I can imagine which photos.
You are holding a didgeridoo. Anyway, it's very good. Okay, Peter.
Screenshot it to you.
So, it's okay. Peter, yes, let's have a talk. I know that you have plenty of things to share. We will go a little bit over time to let you enough space to talk about what you want to talk about. So, what are you sharing with us today, Peter?
Look, I'll be as brief as I can. It's been wonderful to be part of the seminar. I love all the topics that have been raised. Teachings from Maitreya, everyone's contribution has been fabulous. And I think the thing that really excites me is that, as Maitreya suggested all those decades ago, that science itself will pave the way, will prove the messages to be true, will prove intelligent creation by people from elsewhere in the cosmos to be true. And of course, this is happening, and being able to witness this weekend, you know, people like Dean Kenyon and Stephen Meyer, Michael Behe. I mean, these guys are legends. Dean Kenyon was probably reckoned to be the greatest cellular biologist in history. And he's the guy who came out and said, well, guess what? You know, evolution doesn't work. Whichever version of evolution you might be interested in, be that Lamarck or Darwin, this whole notion of an evolutionary process, it just doesn't work. In fact, he was focusing mostly on the step that no one wants to touch, which what happened before the most complex thing in the cosmos, a cell, actually occurred. And it all fell flat. And he coined the phrase, him and Behe coined the phrase intelligent design, because, of course, that's what they came up with. And one of my favourite sort of phrases is irreducible complexity. And it was, you know, Einstein who said, it seems anyone who's got a brain who thinks comes to the party. You know, you can put all the pieces of a watch together in a paper bag and shake it. You can shake it for a million, billion, trillion years, and you'll never end up with a working watch. And that was his way of just describing that, you know, any glance at the majesty of this creation leads you to believe it cannot occur due to just random events. And wow. So we've had people talking about cellular biology, Bruce Lipton, we know cellular communication, cellular memory, the complexity of proteins and their design. But none of this could have happened by chance. One of my favourite, Nassim Haramein, I mean, wow, we've been the only group on the planet who talks about an infinite cosmos, the infinitely large and the infinitely small. Religions have certainly touched on it over time, but science just hasn't even gone there. But, you know, Harriman himself has unpacked the fabric of the universe and plotted and shown the infinitely large and the infinitely small, and the event horizon, or the boundary condition, as he calls it, between the infinitely large and the infinitely small in this fractal, because he does mention the fractals. It goes on and on, infinitely large in fractals and infinitely small in fractals, is indeed the membrane of cellular life. I mean, other matters included in that, of course, but that's just a nice touch. So I know many scientists become so indoctrinated, so humbled with paradigms and belief systems that they're unable to actually think anymore, and they're just seduced by this narrative of evolution. And it takes brave people to sort of step forward and speak the truth.
Well, what do you think? What effect believing in Darwinism and evolution has on your happiness and your? Do you think it?
Look,
how can you relate to the teaching of happiness? Why do we? It's important maybe to give up on the theory of evolution to maybe experience. Yeah, go ahead.
It's interesting. We've got a video. I'm struggling to recall the name right now. It's by a famous actor, and he does this fabulous interview. He goes around the world and interviews all sorts of scientists. And what they don't know is he's editing the video to show the reactions from scientists who are biologists or neurologists and so forth, who are evolutionists, and scientists who are biologists and neurologists who happen to have faith. And it culminates in this amazing example that those that have faith, even though they are at the top of their game in biology, are happy and satisfied, where those who are the evolutionists are really stressed out and frustrated and get angry quickly when he asks them difficult questions like, well, what happened before the cell, etc. So that's interesting. But I think the thing I wanted to discuss most today was a sort of a tie-in with what I had a chance to share with everyone last year. And it's, you know, we've had the biologists, we've had the physicists, the quantum physicists now really kicking some amazing goals, proving the message. But to tie it in with happiness and what this weekend's been about, and there's been a lot mentioned about us being actually programmed right down into our DNA to be happy. And I really believe that. I really feel that. You only have to see, you know, recently with floods, fires, earthquakes, and all sorts of terrible things happening all around the world, you know, as soon as the dust settles, people come from all over. Some people drive hundreds of kilometres just to shovel mud out of somebody else's home, just to do a sausage sizzle, just to feed someone, or help someone, or put an arm around someone. And that's the natural expression of not just humanity, but life. It is designed to be like this. And it's about time the psychologists, the behaviouralists, and the neurologists came to the party. And last year I spoke about this fabulous discovery, which jumps all over evolution, especially the fact that, you know, the eugenists hijacked that notion of survival of the fittest. And this is where you got this notion 100 years ago that the white man was the most powerful and the black man was obviously a substandard unit on every conceivable level because of this survival of the fittest notion and natural selection and the whole bit. And these amazing scientists discovered, studying animals, that, you know, you get this conflict between the males for the right to service the females, and the idea being that it keeps a certain integrity in regards to DNA. So that's where you got the notion that the toughest, the most brutal, the most powerful male, be it an ox or a lion or a dog or a giraffe or an elephant, would, you know, effectively overcome the other males and get to service the females. But they made this amazing discovery that psychopathy, which is a very interesting subject, something I'm very much immersed in at the moment, sociopathy, psychopathy, authoritarianism. I mean, it's alive and well in the world. In fact, they've hijacked everything on the planet right now, and it's very relevant to the work that I do. That psychopaths, which we understand well in the human context, also occur in the animal world. And that in the natural world, be it chimpanzees or, say, wild dogs, or any other sort of animal along those lines, mammals and sort of, you know, large predatory animals and things of that nature. So I'm not talking about worms and insects and so forth. I wouldn't know. But what it's showing is that the psychopath, because you do get the psychopathic trait, which of course is the inability to be compassionate, to know access to empathy, very limited tolerance, you know, it pays way to an inflated ego, no limits on behaviour and so forth that sort of guide most people. So the psychopaths would emerge in the animal world, and that the animals themselves would have a way of identifying the psychopaths and actually marginalising them as youngsters and then alienating them. And they would go and form their own groups because they weren't part of the community. They weren't allowed to be part of the community. And it was the most whole, the most balanced males that would end up duking it out to service the females. So it wasn't about the most brutal or the most tough or the most cunning or devious. It was the most whole and sort of holistically sound animal that would get to pass on the DNA, and the psychopath would be marginalised and never get to mate. So that toxic element of being a psychopath doesn't indeed get to continue its reproduction. The only, you know, part of nature that where this has fallen apart is with human beings. For many, many, many years, going back in time, history is a great revealer of this. Societies had ways of deducing who was the psychopath and removing them from society, because they were just dangerous people, of course. But more recently, and by that I mean the last sort of 2,000 years, the psychopaths themselves have sort of amassed power, and we now see them in every aspect of our world, every aspect of our life. They're at the tops of, you know, all power structures, and everything we see being wrought on planet Earth and humanity and nature is by these psychopaths, and they're now breeding amongst each other, which sort of compounds the problem. So I guess what I really wanted to present is that it's completely part of the design for happiness, for love, for compassion, for sympathy, for understanding, tolerance, to be part or an expression of being a person. And that we look at that bell-shaped curve, although psychopathy and sociopathy now has a bit of a spectrum like autism and sexuality, I might add, it's still a very small group of people who are effectively a defective product and you know, are born a psychopath. And in many cases, their behaviour is corralled because they don't want to stand out. But when you start to have changes in a society, as we've had going back in time, I think we know which ones we're talking about, and we're having now, those people excel. They come out, and they're the ones who can sort of, you know, kick people to the ground and drag them off and do horrible things. And the interesting thing, and I'll be finishing very soon, is, you know, we used to talk about man and woman, and more recently, and it's come up in the last 6 months in a number of science journals that I read and a number of documentaries I've watched by scientists. Keep in mind that one of the greatest, and this is weird, cohorts of psychopaths and sociopaths is the scientific fraternity, believe it or not. This is where you get this pragmatism that's okay to do these outrageous experiments because it's for the greater good. That's the perception anyway. And, you know, language like the human animal. So I first heard the term human animal about 6 months ago, and since then I've been even hearing it on the radio. A great program yesterday on chimeras. Chimeras, I think that's what they're called, where you're mixing human and animal cells and what they're doing in that. It's very crazy, sort of bizarre sort of stuff, and they're talking about the human animal. So we're no longer, you know, this whole eugenics thing has really sort of taken its it's really getting deep rooted. And we used to have recruitment centres and then employment centres, and now we got human resources. So the more these people, these imbalanced people, sort of take hold, we'll start to even see changes in the language we use, the beauty of being human, the soundness of being human, the joy and the happiness that comes with being human is, of course, starting to be filtered out and suppressed. So we've just got to maintain our own faith to not succumb to the madness of others.
Yeah, and science will detect now very easily those psychopaths from birth and reveal those who the psychopath in power, and that will become public knowledge, and all public officers will be hopefully filtered out from will be detected. Like today, they expel the people who are not vaccinated from going to the pub. That's fine for me. but we should expel the psychopath from having any position of office in the government or a leading position in a company or anywhere in an organization where they can harm people. So that was very interesting, Peter. This survival, because that's the term we phrased last year, that the survivors of the kindest is not the strongest and the macho man.
Exactly that.
Who get to reproduce, but the kind, the one who is strong from inside. Those who are looking strong are actually very weak inside, and those who are gentle, they are strong inside, so they can be gentle. And that's one of the things we learned at the seminar that Ms. Hayarel teaches us. Do you have anything else to add?
No, look, thank you for giving me the time. It's been great. I've really been enjoying this weekend, and just wish everyone happiness and love, and
yes.
The goodness outweighs the bad by such an untold factor. It's we find ourselves in a tricky space right now. We'll see how it all pans out, but it's about what we do as an individual that really impacts the whole. So the messages are such a good guide for that.
Okay, thank you very much, Peter, for your contribution. Thank you. And let's have 5 minutes pause to finish the last hour of the Happiness Academy. 5 minutes pause.
That was fabulous. Thank you so much, Peter. Well done.
Thank you. Lots of love.
Thank you, Peter.
Hello. Welcome back, everyone. And we are going to launch an extract of the video I wanted to show you this morning. You have to put it in the context of what we saw, the talk about manipulation and how can we do not to be manipulated, and how easily it is to manipulate people, even if it's to kill someone. It's amazing. 4 hours. This is mind-blowing. It's scary. Imagine that your neighbors were surrounded by possibly by people who could kill you in less than 4 hours. So this is frightening. Anyway, so that's a very important subject, the supra-consciousness. So I wanted to show you this video because it's an important one, and you put it in this context, but also we have edited it to make it shorter. And Rael is speaking about this movie, The Beautiful Mind. If you remember the movie The Beautiful Mind, you have this big mathematician, this genius, who was sick. He was a schizophrenic, so he had imaginary friends. He was speaking to imaginary people he was seeing, and it was a sickness. He had this sickness of having people in his life that was completely imaginary, but that's how his brain was working. So it's talk a little bit about this movie, and we catch up with the video now, in the middle of the video.
Supraconsciousness is always 100% healthy.
超意識というのはいつも 100% 健康なんです。
The problem is to use it.
問題はそれをどういうふうに使うかということ
And this man is a genius, so he has the power, the energy to say, I will take control.
でこの天才の男性はですね、このパワーがありましたから、エネルギーがありましたから、じゃあこれを私がコントロールするぞというふうに思ったんです。
He used supraconsciousness.
超意識を使ったんです。
He put himself, without naming it this way, in a kind of deep meditation.
名前をつけないんですけれども、ある種のですね、深い瞑想に入ったんです。
Where he look at his thinking brain from above and say, wait a minute, this is not real.
もう上からですね、考えてるのをこう見下ろして、あ、ちょっと待って、これは本当じゃないというふうに言うんです。
Other people, they don't have this power.
で、他の人はこういうパワーが
They don't use this power.
ないし、これを使う
They have it,
使わないんです。
but they don't use it.
ありますけれども使わないんです
So they take pills.
ですから薬を取るんです
And kawaii, so it's a pity because they don't need the pills.
薬いらないんですけれど
Of
も
course,
かわいそうなこと
They need it as long as they don't master the
まあ
supraconsciousness.
超意識でそのマスターになってない限りでは薬が必要なんです
It need time to really say, I need to use my supraconsciousness.
私の超意識を使わなきゃいけないというふうに、時間がかかるんですね
So that's for extreme case of very, very mentally sick people.
これは本当にこうエクストリームなケースなんですけれども本当に精神的に病んでる人の場合です
If it works for them, it works for you, for everybody.
もうそういう人にも聞きますからそれ全ての人に聞くわけです
We are not mentally sick.
私たちは病気ではないですから精神的に
But everybody sometimes has down,
でも誰でも時にはですねダウンになったり
blues,
ちょっとうつになったり
depressed feeling.
ちょっと落ち込んだ気持ちとか
Even if you have a depression, everybody has depression in his life in a few weeks, or a few days, or a few months.
人生で何週間とか何日か何ヶ月とかあります誰でも
Remember always
いつも覚えておいてください
that the supraconsciousness is never sick.
超意識というのは決して病むことはないんです
So when you become depressed
ですから皆さんが鬱になった時は
or sad
悲しい時とか
or negative,
ネガティブになった時とか
this is happening in the thinking brain,
もうこれは考えてるので起こることです
the consciousness,
意識という部分です、
not the supraconsciousness.
超意識ではなくて
What does it do, the supraconsciousness?
超意識は何をするんですか？
When you start saying, "Oh, I am depressed. Oh, life is bad. Oh, I feel bad." What is doing the
もう人
supraconsciousness?
生最悪も気分悪いわとか、そういう時に超意識は何をしますか？
Supraconsciousness is like a snail,
超意識というのはカタツムリのようなものです。
escargot in French. A snail.
カタツムリです。
It's out with beautiful little horn.
ちっちゃいですね、この、なんていうんですか、これが角が出てきてですね。
That's when you are in meditation.
それが皆さんが瞑想するときに
When you are not in meditation or depressed, you go back in the shell.
瞑想中ではなくて落ち込んでしてるときというのはもう中に入ってきちゃう。
This depression is not my business. I don't want to be affected.
この落ち込みというのはに私は影響されたくないって私の問題じゃないというふうに言ってしまうんです。
So the supraconsciousness, like a snail, go back inside the shell and wait.
超意識というのはそのカタツムリがこの角がですね中に入ってしまって待ってるような状態です。
Whatever deep is your depression or mental sickness, it's inside the shell waiting.
もうどんなに精神的に悪い状態でもう内になっていっててもその中で入ってですね待ってる状態なんです。超意識は
Never sick,
全く病気しなくて
never affected.
そして影響もされないんです。
Just like a sleeping beauty.
もう寝てる美しい美女寝てる美女のようなものです。
You know the movie, eh? Sleeping Beauty.
眠れる森の美女わかりますか？
Inside.
その中で入ってます。
And it will come out
で出てくるんですけれども、
only when you go in meditation.
皆さんが瞑想する時だけです。
That's the way to bring the snail out of the shell.
そのカタツムリがそのシェルの外に出てくる貝の外に出てくる方法なんです。それが。
People can live all their life with the snail never coming out.
もう人々はですね一生ですね一度もそのカタツムリの中から出てこない状態でも生きていけるんです。
99.99% of people on earth never use supraconsciousness.
99.999% の人たちがその超意識というのは一度も使わず
Never.
決して使わないんです。
Politician,
政治家とか
military,
軍隊
they
とか
don't need.
もういらないんです彼は。
They're like robots.
ロボットのように。
Never, this for all life, never use
もう
supraconsciousness.
一生ですねこの超意識を使うことがないんです。
You can have a very normal life without using it.
もう普通の人生というものをこの使わずですね生きることができるんです。
Normal,
普通というのは
but not happy.
でも幸せじゃない普通なんです。
And that's why they buy drugs, medicine, alcohol, tobacco to forget how sad they are.
ですからタバコとかドラッグとかお酒とかその薬とか取ってですね彼らがどんなに不幸かというのを忘れようとしてるんです。
But if you bring the snail out of the shell
でもこの貝からそのカタツムリが外に出るようにすると
by meditation,
瞑想によって
then you discover happiness.
幸せを発見することができるんです。
In every minute of your day,
一日の毎分です。
because it's everywhere.
あらゆるところにあるものですから。
The supraconsciousness connect you to happiness constantly.
もう超意識というのはもう毎瞬間常にですね全てのものとつながっているんです。
And it's in
Yes,
This is the power of the So thank you, Joël, and thank you, Maitreya, for the teaching and for this today. It's really nice to be here and to feel everyone. And we talk about meditation, about consciousness, about happiness. I love the switch of consciousness and wow, to let the snail out, to get the consciousness, the supra-consciousness out of its shell. This is what I like to do in life. It's my it's my pleasure. So I would like to have a game today because well, we need to play. Huh? We need to have fun. So I have a little video from Maitreya, I have a little text, and after I have a little exercise. The total, I think, will be 15, 20 minutes. So the subject today that I want to explore is to make Elohim the partner of our life. So Maitreya talked about it, so if we can start with the little video. So we get into the idea of making the Elohim our partner in life. And when many people come to the movement with the book, but some people, like me, came to the movement because of our love for the Elohim and by prayer, which is, we talk a lot about meditation, and I also want to talk about prayer. So we'll start with the video if it's possible, I'll see, and after that we get back to me and my little text.
Love your organ. Right now. We have maybe, I don't know, 50, 60 people here. Each of you, the heart is beating. You're not thinking about it. You listen to me, and same time, it's beating. Feel it. Love. When you love your heart, your stomach, all your body, you love Elohim. The tongue, you taste something. Oishi. Because Elohim. I see many animals, they catch food like the gecko and they swallow. They cannot feel the taste. I love watching animals. I love watching on TV the fish. Big fish. Gosh, small fish. Hop, swallow. We can take the otoro and slowly connect the tongue with the brain. This is loving Elohim. When you look at the beauty of the ocean, beauty of the stars at night, beauties of the trees, what's happening? You love the creation of Elohim, yes, but thanks to the beautiful, the wonderful eyes they gave us. So every sense, every organ is like an anthem to the wonderful gift of Elohim.
のです。
Being able to taste is a gift from Elohim.
食べられ味わえるということはエロヒムのギフトです。
Being able to smell a flower
お花を匂いを嗅げることは
is a gift from Elohim.
エロヒムからのギフトです。
I love Japanese because you call the nose hana.
皆さんは花と言いますね。このノーズ。
And flower also.
でもお花も花ですね。
Beautiful.
発音が同じで美しいです。
Hana hana.
花で花を描く。
Everything in your beautiful life
美しい
is saying thank you, Elohim.
皆さんの生活の中の美しいすべてのものをエロヒムに感謝するんです。
That's love.
それは愛です。
Loving Elohim is not sitting in front of symbol and meditation. No, no, it's in every moment of your life.
エロヒムを愛するということはシンボルの前に座って感謝するのではなくて、生活のすべての瞬間に行うものです。
In everything you do in life, connect yourself to Elohim.
人生で行うすべてのことをエロヒムとつなげてください。
When you eat,
食べるときも、
when you drink,
飲むときも、
when you make love,
セックスするときも、
when I have orgasm,
私がオルガズムを得たときは、
thank you, Elohim.
エロヒムありがとうございますと言います。
It's amazing.
素晴らしいです。
Think about it, and then your orgasm become much more powerful
それを考えること、感じることによってあなたのオルガズムはもっとパワフルになります。
because connection to infinity and to Elohim.
なぜなら無限とエロヒムとのつながりですから。
Every part of your body.
すべての体の部分と
Feet.
足も、
When, wow, I can walk.
私は歩けると
I can move.
動けます。
I can touch.
触れます。
All these things for me, it's magic.
すべてが私にとっては魔法のようです。
Feel it as soon as you get up in the morning.
それを朝起きた瞬間から感じてみてください。
Don't go to the toilet, the bathroom. Okay. No.
朝起きてお風呂やトイレにただ行くのではなくて、
Me, I get up and I say, wow,
私
my
は
legs are walking.
起きた時に私の足が動いてるわと感じます。
And I go to the toilet,
そしてトイレに向かいます。
almost dancing.
まるでダンスするかのように。
I need pee-pee, but
もう
it's a dance.
おしっこしなきゃいけないんですけれども、でもダンスのように行きます。
It's so beautiful.
これはとっても美しいです。
Every part of your body work for you.
すべてのあなたの体の部分があなたのために働いてくれている。
Yes, the supra-consciousness is the most important part.
もちろん、超意識が一番重要な部分ですけれども、
But if your heart stops,
でもあなたの心臓が止まると、
there is no more supra-consciousness.
超意識ももうなくなります。
If your stomach or liver stop working, there is no
Thank you, Maitreya, for the teaching. And I will read a little bit of just a very short paragraph to is talking about making the Elohim our partner. So if we have the text, it's great also in background so people can read it for themselves, but I will read it with my beautiful French accent. So the Elohim are your partner in life. When the light and love of the Elohim are in your heart, everything becomes easy in your life. In difficult times, it's become easy. Nothing is painful when you live for the Elohim. Even death is easy. Being a real Aurelian, deeply Aurelian, is to dedicate one's life to the Elohim. Nothing else matters. You can find a girlfriend or a boyfriend. You can be single or not. It doesn't matter. You are not single when you love the Elohim. They are your partner in life. They are much better than having a girlfriend or having a friend or having friends. They guide you every day of your life. When you feel them, your life become a paradise. So let's do the exercise. You can close your eyes, and I will take the little trick of Karen yesterday. And you just breathe from your sex, and you like a tube inside your body. So you take a nice big deep breath. So make yourself comfortable and fill up your body with this beautiful oxygen. Nice long deep inhalation. All the way to the top of the cranium, and let the oxygen molecule explode inside your brain. Keep it there a little. 2 or 3 breaths. And you can go back to normal breathing when you have finished your 2 or 3 breaths. And on your next conscious breath, bring it to the heart. Feel your heart and stay inside your heart. Let's forget the supraconsciousness for a second. And just feel it. Feel with your heart. Your eyes are closed. And visualize the most beautiful partner. A girl or a man, whatever is your favorite partner. And this is a Eloha, or a woman Eloha. Not a small person, a human being, but it's an Eloha. Look at his eyes, look at her eyes. Look at the love, feel the love. It's all the love possible in these eyes. The love of a mother for their child, the love of a kid for his mom or his dad, the love of a lover for his partner or partner, the love of a grandmother, a grandfather, the wisdom of and the love. Every imaginable love are in these eyes. And this is your partner. This is your partner in life. And this Eloha loves you so much. And you feel it in your heart, you feel it in your sex, you feel it in your mind. You're connecting with this person in a very intimate level. It's your personal love story. This is the love of your life. And he is working toward you. He's looking at you with so much love that is just untenable. All the cells of your body start vibrating of love. He loves you so much. You're so special. You are the most important person of his whole universe. He's there for you. He understands you. He knows you completely. Every little facet of who you are. And here is a difficult exercise. Be the eyes. Go inside these eyes. See yourself. Realize that this person is loving you because you are Elohim in the making. You are the most personal, beautiful, special person of the whole universe. And you deserve so much love. So see yourself through the eyes of this Eloha who love you. Feel all yourself vibrating with the love that you deserve. You're a flower, you're a butterfly. You're the most beautiful person of the universe. And I love this quote. Meditation is when you listen to the Elohim. Prayer is when you talk to the Elohim. So talk to them. Tell them how you love them. Be part of them. Make love with them. Dance with them. Use your imagination, your creativity to be so close to them that is no difference between the Elohim and you. You are Elohim, becoming Elohim in the making. And you're so beautiful. I am so beautiful. And when you continue this journey with me, you will see how beautiful you are. And you will cry of joy in front of your beauty. So now we open our eyes and find your image on the screen. You can slide it and you see yourself right now. Not me, just yourself. Look at this eyes. Can you see? Can you see who you are? Can you see what you are? It's so beautiful. Thank you. Thank you, Elohim. Thank you for your teaching.
Thank you, Zabu.
Thank you, Zabu. Thank you. That was so beautiful. Thank you.
Oh, you made
Actually,
me cry. She made me cry.
yes. Actually, I would like to add you. Sorry, what can I say? Okay, I would like to invite you also, Karen and Zabu, because I would like to ask you each one a question, the same question actually. Certainly you will have different answers, but you know that we have to work on refinement. That's one of the paths to happiness, to elevate or even our level of consciousness. The more we raise our level of consciousness, the more refined we become. But also, by refining ourselves, we also raise our level of consciousness. So I would like to ask each of you, and I will start with you, Zabu. You know, the man in Australia, we are born with a certain education, certain culture. You know the difference between Europe and Australia. So maybe you have a different eyes than Keren. If I ask you one thing, or just one thing that men could work to focus, you know, if I have to take one thing from you to work on for working on my refinement, what do you think will that be? And you can develop.
Connect with your childhood. Connect with the little boy. Yes, man, connect with the little boy that you are. Because I saw little baby boy or 2 years old toddler and 2 years old toddler girl. And the little boy are so nice, so cute, so gentle, so fragile. Girls are a lot more tough, to be honest. We are so much more strong inside in our brain. So it just, I think men have to connect with the child inside. Yeah, this is my answer. Connect with your little boy inside. And it's so sensitive. Well, I'm sure Kelly knows she have a little Lucas. Wow. Little boy are so sensitive.
Thank you, Zabu. That's very nice. And Karen, what do you think? What would be your answer? You have to unmute yourself, Karen. You have to unmute yourself.
Is that all right now?
That's good. Excellent.
Oh, Zabu, you made me cry. You made me cry. It was so beautiful. I'd like to have, if you could send me that thing that you read out from. I've been single for 8 years, so celibate for 8 years anyway, and I never feel alone. And when you described that, I felt as if you were talking just to me. I prepared something because I don't want to go off topic. I think it will very much confirm what Zabu has said. I've come to, like Elsie said yesterday, which he emphasized, that Maitreya's words, you can't be kind enough. Yes, it's you can't be kind enough. Also, Rael has said on many occasions, you can't be refined enough. This is something he said is so important, because the Elohim are so refined that our humanity has become truly unbalanced and unnaturally male-brained. So it is our duty to refine ourselves and to feminize humanity, not just as individuals, because it has to start, as you said, everything starts with our own selves. Jarell said that today. It all ties in with perception. But there's something I'd like to mention. In the early 1970s, in the 1700s, beg your pardon, I'm still in tears. In the early 1700s, because there was a very definite rule, what was considered to be acceptable behavior, homosexuals developed a language of signals and gestures and mannerisms in order to identify one another socially. This was a subtle way of conveying their sexuality to a like-minded person in society where it was not accepted. So this comes into perception and it comes into programming. But now, by the 19th century, this behavior became so well known, they gave it a name. You would be a dandy or a fop. This continues to this day. Even though it's no longer criminalized and it's completely unnecessary behavior, this shows how programming can not just be individual, but can be societal, because it is a behavior that's not normalized. It's actually called an affectation. If you go around like a queen all the time, darling, that's just not a normal person. That's 1700s programming. They don't have to advertise their sexuality, but this has remained since the 1700s. Equally the same, and there's a particular alien, unfortunately, that's not here, hasn't been here much, and I was hoping he would be, because I feel he needs it more than any of us. When you see a really macho, blokey, stereotype behavior, that we see a lot of behavior like that in males today. In both cases, the gay fop behavior and the macho blokey behavior, they're affectations. They're completely unreal. They're programming. It's not natural. Humans have developed behaviors to suit society. So as we learn in sensual meditation, the true self has to be rediscovered. Compassion comes naturally to a very small child. They naturally run if they see somebody hurt, or they want to pat an animal. Like intuition, which is from the busy, cluttered, it's not from the busy, cluttered brain, what Rael calls the superconsciousness. Intuition is from the feminine aspects of the brain. So in order for us to come back to the true self, that very small child that we once were before we were programmed either by our teachers or our educators, our parents, or by society itself, a return to the true self where the desire to nurture, to attract and be refined, which comes naturally to children, and pure sensuality is once again rediscovered. If I write about sensuality on Facebook, people think I'm talking about sex. Oh, you're always talking about sex. I'm celibate for 8 years. I'm not talking about sex. I'm talking about sensuality. And every day of my life, there's nothing I thank more than for my eyes, because I wouldn't even be able to get to the bathroom, holding on to things, waiting for my legs to wake up. But my eyes, I'm so grateful for my eyes. So we have to return to that innocent little child, just like Zabu said. We have to become like Lucas. You study Lucas for a day and you will see a real boy, but he's got no macho behavior. He has no, there's nothing in him that's brutish or masculine. In fact, he could just as well be a girl. There's very little difference in the sensitivity of a 3-year-old. Maybe the girls are a little tougher, as Zabu said, but the whole concept of sensual meditation is to strip away everything that is not really us, to remove the artifice, the fake front that is either societal or individual, to get rid of it and go back to that little child, because I can't find a man I'm attracted to for that very reason, even if I wanted. And I don't feel the need, because what Sabu said was exactly how I feel. I never feel alone. I feel loved by the Elohim. But if I was to find a partner, he wouldn't pass the test, because they're all so masculine, and I'm not gay, and I'm not going to fall into affected behavior. And this is what we need to remove. We don't want to be all blokey and gruff and macho, but we don't want to be all gay either, because you don't need to advertise your sexuality in the 21st century. You just be yourself, and stripping away all the things that are not the self. I would really advise us all to revisit sensual meditation, because you question, is this really me? Is this really what I think? Or is it what I was told to think? Is this really how I feel? Or is this how I've been taught to feel? And eventually you become like Lucas, little 3-year-old prankster. You can still be feminine and be a tomboy, but you're truly being just naturally yourself. And I once asked Lisa, I can't be an angel because I'm not pure and I'm not humble. I can't be an angel because I'm too confident and too abrupt. And she said, this is so misunderstood, because being pure has nothing to do with how many lovers you've had. It has to do with being your true, absolute, true self. And Karen, is anybody who's themselves, it's you. And that made me feel really good. But it took a long time. You said today, when you were about changing the neurons, that it can be a process. When some people change can be instant. But I was a very angry young man. If I wanted to describe myself as a teenager or someone in my 20s, I'd come out swinging. I'd hit somebody before I'd debate. I was tough, and I was very much an angry young man. Nobody stuffed with me. So that's not me anymore. I'm not that person. I've worked to strip away things that made me somebody else. And we all have to find the real you again. Even if you're vulnerable, and even if you cry easily, and even if you put yourself in a position where you're having to admit that you're not as strong as you'd like to be, just be Lucas. Just be that 3-year-old little boy.
Very good.
Recording
Very
stopped.
good. Thank you very much, Karen. And we have very little time. What do you think, Elsie? Do we have a time for last video of Mitraya, or we have to finish? Okay, so you go ahead.
This morning I want to share with you
今朝は皆さんとシェアしたいことは
a beautiful meditation I had
美
this
しい
week.
今週持った美しい瞑想なんですけれども
Meditation about these clouds.
この雲に関しての瞑想なんです
Look at the clouds.
雲を見てください
We have been in the clouds
雲の上にいることが
雲にいたことがあり
あり
ま。
ますす
and we will be back in the clouds.
でまた雲に戻ります
Our body is composed of 80% of water.
私たちの体は 80% は水でできています
When we die,
死んだ時に
and we all die,
みんな死にますけど
this water evaporates
この水が蒸発します
and go in the air
空気中に上がっていきます
and in the clouds.
そして雲になります
So when you look at a cloud,
雲を見るとき
wonder how long did it take for this water to accumulate in a cloud,
この水が雲になるまでどれぐらいかかったんだろう
coming from the body of people.
人々の体から来ています
Maybe 3 years, maybe 7 years after you die,
3年後7年後あなたが死んでから
particle of your body
あなたの体の分子が
go in the clouds
雲になります
and then fall in rain
そして雨となって降り落ちます
in the river,
川となって
and you drink water,
そしてその水を飲みます
and the same particle of water
で同じその分子を水の分子を
again are in your body.
がまたあなたの体に戻ってきます
This is a wonderful cycle of water.
これは素晴らしい水のサイクルです
How many times did the particle of water which make our body,
何回自分の分子がそういうふうに作り変えられたんでしょうか
our brain,
私たちの脳は
our consciousness,
私たちの意識は
how many times have they been in the body of other people
何度他の人の体に行ったでしょうか
and other animals
動物とか
and plants?
植物とか
In this infinite cycle of life,
この無限の生命のサイクルが循環が
how many times?
何回起こったでしょうか
An infinite number of times.
無限の数だけ起こってるんです
We have been everything,
私たちは全てでありました
everywhere,
あらゆるところで
and we will be everything
そして私たちは全てになるでしょう
forever.
永遠に
That's why we are one
だから私たちは一つなんです
with the sky,
空と
with the stars,
星たちと
with the soil,
土と
with the plant,
植物と
with other people around us.
あなたの周りにいる他の人々たちと
The separation between us is an illusion.
私とあなたとの境っていうのは幻想なんです
I breathe out
呼吸します
like everybody,
みんなと同じように吐き出しますね
and you breathe in
そしてそれをあなたが吸い込むんです
like everybody.
他の人たちと同じよう
And
に
when you breathe in,
あなたが呼吸するとき
some part of my body go in your body,
私の体の一部があなたの体の一部に吸い込まれるんです
and reciprocally, meaning other side also.
あなたの側も同じことが起きますね
So we are one.
だから私たちは一つ
And
なんです
this feeling of oneness,
この一つであるつながりの感覚は
it's not something abstract, not concrete.
抽象的ではないんです
It's something material.
これは物質なんです
It's the matter which make your body
あなたの体を作っている物質なんです
and my body
私の体を作っている
are same.
物質と同じなんです
The matter which make your body
あなたの体を作っている物質
and the body of this green plant and flowers,
この緑の植物や花を作っている物質
it's same.
同じなんです
No difference.
変わりはないんです
Scientists study genetic today.
科学者たちが、 遺伝子的に研究してますけれども、
The DNA
DNA は
of a monkey
の猿の DNA は
or butterfly,
とか蝶々の DNA は
the difference between their DNA and our DNA,
私たちの DNA と彼らの DNA の違いは
very little.
ほんの少しなんです。
In other words,
他
the
の言葉で言うと、
elementary, fundamental bricks of life
本質的なレンガの元っていうの
are
は
the same
同じなんです。
in every single life.
すべて生きているものなんです。
So we are not different.
私たちは変わりないんです。
There is consciousness
そこには意識があって、
in every single life.
すべて生きてるんです。
At our level
私たちのレベル、同じレベルで、
and other levels.
他のレベルでも。
That's why the symbol of Elohim, which is this symbol, is so important.
だからエロヒムのこのシンボルマークっていうのはとっても重要なんです。
As you know, they teach us that we are inside the body
私たちの体の中の
of a huge being.
に巨大な生命が存在してますね。たくさんの
And in our fingers,
私たちの体の中、
many galaxies.
この指の中にも銀河がたく
Many
さんの
small
銀河があります。小さな惑星があります。
With people living
そこに人々が住んでいます。
everywhere.
あらゆるところ
The
に
same principle
同じような原則です。
of life
生命の
and
と
consciousness.
あと意識の同じ原則です。
In every little plant,
小さなすべての植物にも
there is consciousness.
意識があるんです。
In this huge tree, which make a tree house,
この木の家を作っているこの大きな木なんですけれども、
there is consciousness.
そこにも意識があります。
In every little mosquito coming to drink your blood,
すべての小さなあなたの血を吸いに来る蚊でも
there is consciousness.
そこに意識があります。
They are like us.
彼らは私たちと同じようなんです。
Feelings,
感じてます。
sexual feeling,
性的な感覚を感じています。
pleasure,
喜びを感じます。
exactly like us.
私たちと同じように。
The only difference
違いは
is they don't know
それはその
infinity.
この無限っていうのを知らないということが唯一。
That's the privilege of human being.
それを知っているのがこの人間の特権なんです。
And for that, we don't use consciousness.
それは私たちは意識は使いません。
We use supra-consciousness.
超意識を使ってます。
Stupid people just think.
愚かな人はただ考えるだけなんですが、
They don't use consciousness.
意識を使わないんですけれども、
People who raise the level of consciousness, they suddenly use consciousness.
意識のレベルを上げようとしている人たちは突然意識を使って上げていきます。
But when you use consciousness, you can be very bad.
でもあなたが意識を使うときはとっても良くないんです。
All the killer,
殺し屋たちは、
violent people,
暴力的な人たちは、
Adolf Hitler,
ヒトラーは
they use consciousness.
意識を使ってました。
Consciousness is not enough.
意識だけでは足りないんです。
Mimizu use consciousness.
ミミズも意識を使います。
It's not enough.
それでも不十分です。
We human beings, we have a supra-consciousness.
私たち人間は超意識を使います。
And this supra-consciousness
この超意識は
is the only way to feel infinity
この無限を感じる唯一の方法なんです。
and to reach love.
そして愛に到達するための方法です。
In other words,
他の言葉で言い換えれば、
with just a brain,
私たちはただ脳が
thinking brain,
考えている脳が
we are not different of Mimizu.
あったら、それはミミズと変わらないんです。
With just consciousness,
ただ意識だけだと
we are just Mimizu.
ミミズと同じようなミミズ。
Proud to be a Mimizu.
ミミズであることに誇りを持ちます。
Proud to be an eagle.
ワシであることに誇りを持ちます。
Proud to be a frog.
カエルであることに誇りを持ちます。
Proud to be French.
フランス人であることに誇りを持ちます。
Proud to be Chinese.
中国人であることに誇りを持ちます。
Proud to be Japanese.
日本人であることに誇りを持ちます。
This is dirty nationalism.
でもこれは汚い汚れた国家主義、国民主義です。
And create war.
で、戦争を起こします。
I am me.
私は私なんだ。
You are you. You are less good than me.
私よりもちょっと劣ってるんだ。
It's in many languages. The name of the country means the country of real men.
たくさんの言語がありますけど、それは本当のその人の、民っていう意味があるんです。
Like if other countries are not real men.
他の国っていうのは本来の人間ではないっていう感じです。
Germany original name means we are the men and other people are not men.
ドイツのオリジナルの意味は我々が人間だって他の人たちは人間ではないというような。
You can even find that in religions.
宗教の中にも見つけ出せます。
Like the Jewish religion.
例えばユダヤ教のでは
which say we are human.
私たちが人間なんだ。
But not the Jewish people, they are like animals. They are not human.
でもユダヤ人じゃない人たちはもう動物的な存在だ。
And this creates hatred,
そこで憎しみが生まれます。
war,
戦争が生まれます。
and not love.
それは愛ではないんです。
When you reach supra-consciousness,
超意識に到達するとき、
we are not anymore Japanese or French.
私たちは日本人とかフランス人ではなくなります。
We are not anymore human.
私たちは人間でもないんです。
We are.
私たちはこの存在になります。
We are one.
私たちは一つになるんです。
We are not better than insect.
あなたは虫よりも優れているわけではないんです。
This week I put on Facebook a picture of a little insect I saved in my house.
今週家の中で救った小さな虫の写真を Facebook に自分で掲載したんですけど、
Everybody loves this photo.
みんなその写真が好きなんですけ
This
ど、
poor animal was dying in my house.
かわいそうなその虫が私の家の中で死にかけてたんです。
I feel.
それを感じたんです。
I take, put outside,
それを取って外に置いて
give some water.
ちょっとお水をあげて、
He drinks the water.
そしたらお水を飲んだんですね。
I felt his happiness.
彼の幸せを感じたんです。
I was one with this insect.
その時私はこの虫と一つになったんです。
Feel this oneness
この一つのつながりを感じてください。
with other human beings,
他の人たちと
with everything alive
すべて生きてます。
on
生きてるもの
Earth,
とこの地球上のと
on another planet.
他の惑星のものと
Because many human beings who have not reached the supra-consciousness
たくさんの人間たちはまだこの超意識に到達していません。
call people from outer space alien.
他の惑星の人たちをエイリアンと呼んでます。
You saw the movie Alien.
エイリアンの映画を見たことありますよね。
Monster
モンスターが出てきます。
with water falling here.
よだれがこう出てきてあーっていうのがあります。
This is not supra-consciousness.
これは超意識ではないんです。
This is why white people hate black people.
だから白人が黒人を嫌うようなことが起きるんです。
This is kind of racism.
これは差別です。
You can be
人種
you
差別
can
です。
be a being from another planet
他の惑星の存在に
with a body shape of a
には
spider,
雲型人間が存在します。
but full of love,
でもたくさん愛にあふれてます。
having reached supra-consciousness.
超意識に到達しています。
Or human being
でもこういった人間の形で
with the face of Adolf Hitler
顔がヒトラーのようで
and full of hatred.
たくさんの憎しみが溢れている、そういう存在もあります。
I prefer to spend time with a spider full of love than with Adolf Hitler.
たくさんの愛にあふれた雲かヒトラーかどっちと時間を過ごすかって聞かれたら私は雲の方を選びます。
So everywhere in space
この空間、宇宙のあらゆるところで
is same.
は同じです。
Only when you reach supra-consciousness,
超意識に到達した時だけ
you have love.
あなたには愛があるんです。
You all have it in your brain.
すべてあなたの脳の中にそれはあるんです。
So, in a practical way,
実践的な方法で
stop thinking.
まずは考えをやめて
Don't be satisfied with the basic consciousness.
基本的な意識で満足するのではなく
Meditate
瞑想して
to reach supra-consciousness
超意識に到達させるんです。
and feel love.
そして愛を感じるんです。
Please
どうぞやってく
do
だ
it.
さい。やってください。
I love you.
愛してます。
Wonderful. What a way to finish this Happiness Academy with the notion of oneness. Oneness will elevate you to a higher level of happiness and a better quality of happiness. Once you know, it's a new spirituality of the next, I wanted to say the next millennium, but it will be forever. This feeling of being one. When the religions with different gods have separated us, the new religions of tomorrow will be being one with everything, with the infinity. Understanding that we come from infinity and we are made of infinity in a part of infinity. So being one with everything, that's the ultimate love. Ultimate love. A mother feels one with her children, and you know, it's so much one with her children. They can feel what they feel. And we have to do the same with between everything, the insect, the trees, but of course the people around us and the people far away from us, and the Elohim and every living beings in the universe. That's how all the work we have to do to feel one. So there is more than a lifetime of work. No, I'm joking here. It's possible instantly. We can feel that being one through meditation. So that has been a fantastic time for me to be sharing with you and listening to Maitreya. Thank you very much. We can maybe the best way to finish it's having an expression of gratitude to Maitreya. Thank you, Maitreya. You can just feel how privileged we are to receive this teaching from him. He's a fantastic man who has devoted his life to bring this message and to raise the level of happiness of humanity. He has definitely raised my level of happiness, and I hope and I know he also, for some of you, has raised yours as well. And we have been here and we have heard many of you testify for that. So I welcome all. I want to say thank you to all those who have participated. The technical, Alcy and Tara, who have supported us, me and Fordemil, etc. And all the speakers, you are too many to mention. We have one maybe thanks to do is for the Elohim. And for that, maybe we can listen to Rael thanking the Elohim. And while he's speaking, maybe we can also thank the Elohim at the same time. If you are ready for a few minutes, for maybe 1 or 2 minutes more, listen to Rael thanking the Elohim.
Keep the snail out. Being amazed by hot water, being amazed by electric light, being amazed. This is meditation. Before all, being amazed to be alive. It's a miracle. I am a part of infinity. I should be dust, unconscious dust, but I am alive. Thank you, Elohim. And that's how to keep the snail out of the shell. And to have a life guided by supraconsciousness. Keep the snail out.